So this is going to be a quick video to make a Python program that has a little window that pops up. It's going to become an annoying Python program that just keeps windows keep popping up. It's a program for the students at school. They've been asking about it. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a new Python shell right here. I'm going to do a save as. I'll go File, Save As. I'm going to save it to the desktop and I'm going to call it annoying.py. So I've saved that to the desktop. Now, as per usual, first thing I'm going to do is put in some information about it. Python, it's a GUI we're going to use, a graphic user interface. And we'll start with a simple window and we'll call it annoying. And we'll give it a date. So this will be December 2024. Okay, now to get this window to pop up, we're going to use TKinter. So we need to import the module TKinter. So from TKinter, import everything. So we're using the star to represent everything. So we're importing this module called TKinter, which allows these pop-up windows to happen, allows windows to be created. And in fact, that's the first thing we're going to do is start with the most simple window, right? So main window. And I'm putting comments all the way through this so that the students sort of can follow along what's going on in each section. So I'm going to say create a window and go and use the TKinter module to do that window, right? To make a simple window. Then I want to put a title on the window so that when it comes up, the bar across the top will have a title. So title on the window, there we go. In fact, on the window frame, it's the frame of the window. Right, and so how we do that is we go and get the window and we say title, and then we just do brackets like a print statement in here, and let's call this a simple window. Okay, so that's going to give us a title. The next thing is we want to do the size of the window, so we want to set the geometry of the window. Set the window size, and we go to here and we say again, we go window dot, and this time it's geometry, and I'm going to make this one a simple, I don't know, let's make it 200 by 200, and I can actually use an X in here, which is interesting, instead of using a multiply symbol, because TKinter understands the X. Right, now let's also do a background color, just so that we can see how this window works. So let's go change the background color. And we go to here, and again we go window dot, this time we go configure. And we can put in here background BG equals, and then we can choose a color. So I might choose navy, just for the sake of this. Then we're going to go through and I'm going to put some text in the window. And remember, at the minute, we're just creating this simple GUI window, right? So I want to show you how that works first. So creating some text, and we'll put in here writing. So I've got a variable called writing, and the writing is going to be a label, and it has to have a capital L, otherwise it won't work. And that label is going to go in the window, and it's going to have some text on it, and it's going to say something interesting. Something interesting, and let's give that a background color as well, so it stands out from the navy background. So let's maybe give that, I don't know, light blue background. So bright background equals light blue. Okay, so now we've got a background. Now we've got to put all of that together. We're going to put that writing together, the background color together. Everything's got to be put together so that it works, and we do that by packing. So we go writing dot pack, and then two brackets, and that puts all of that information together ready for the window, and then all we have to do is actually run the window. So let's go run main window, And we just do that by saying window dot main loop. Main loop, and then the brackets, and then that's it. We've actually finished that section of the video. So I hit Command S to save that. I run it to test it, and I hit run. And in fact, behind that, there we go. Here's our simple window, 200 by 200. It actually says simple window at the top because that's what we call the title in there. And then it has something interesting with light blue background behind it. So there's the first part of our video. Now we're going to move on to make this a pop-up window that just keeps popping up. Okay, so we've got our window, our first window working. Now we want to make it look more like a window that would pop up as like a warning, or if there was an issue or something on your computer, you know, you get those warning windows that pop up. So we're going to try and make this look a little bit more like that so that the user thinks this is some sort of official window. So the first thing I want to do is I want to make a button. So to make a button, I'm actually going to import something else from TKinter. So I'm going to say from TKinter, import TTK. Now TTK is, again, just another module, but it kind of has extra little features that I want to use, right? So by having both of them imported, I'm 100% sure that it's going to work. Now I'm also going to import random, and we'll use that later on to do a random event on the screen. I'll show you what that is shortly. But to start with, I'll just do the import random. So we're importing the module random. Now, with this new section down here, I want to make it look a little bit more like an official window. So rather than just have simple window, I'm going to put in here some text that says you have been hacked. Because all the kids want to do hacking, right? So I'm going to say you have been hacked, and that'll be the title. Now I want the window to be a different shape, so I'm going to actually change this to 400 by 150, which makes it a wide, narrow window. And I'm going to change this writing. Instead of saying something interesting, I'm going to say virus detected. Okay, so now it's going to say virus detected. And in fact, I'm going to take off this blue background because you wouldn't have that blue background if you had the words virus detected there. Okay, now I'm also going to move that word virus detected down just a little bit. Now, to make it move down, up and down, I'm going to go on the Y axis. So I'm going to go into here. I'm just going to put pad Y, and I'm going to put equals, and I'm going to put 20. So what that's going to do is put a little bit of padding above and below the text, so that it's sort of centered within the button that I'm going to be making, which is what I'm going to do next in here. So here, let's put in another comment here, creating a button. Okay, so this is the next bit of code, creating a button in here. And to do that, I'm going to create a variable called button, and I'm going to say that equals TTK, that's the new module that we just imported, capital B to write button. And then we're going to say, okay, this button is going to be inside our window, and it's going to have some text in it. And the text is going to say clean. So the user will think, oh, I click this button and then it'll clean my computer, but we don't, it's not actually going to do that. So we're going to say command equals click. So in other words, there's a button that's going to pop up on the screen. The button's going to have the word clean on it. And the user's going to think, okay, if I click this clean button, it'll clean the virus off my computer because it says virus detected, but it won't actually do that. We're going to make it do something else, okay? Now, we're also going to attach some of the keys on the keyboard to it so that if the user presses the keyboard, then another annoying window pops up. So it's not going to actually solve the problem. It's going to make the problem worse if they click that. And how we do that is we do what's called bind all. We bind all of the keys from the keyboard to the function that we're going to use. Now, we're going to do a greater than, less than, and in here we go key with a capital K, and we want to bind that to enter. Now I'll explain how this works in just a second. We pack all of that together the same way we did the text, and we do that, so that should pack all of that together. And I think that's about it for this. Now, we've got a couple of things in here. We've got a click, and we've got to bind all to the enter key. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create two functions, and those functions are if the user clicks the mouse, clicks on the button, something's going to happen. Or if the user presses any key on the keyboard, all keys, any key on the keyboard, then something's going to happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually create a function up here. I'm going to go up a couple of lines. I'm going to define this as click. So what we're saying is, if the computer gets the message click, we're going to create a whole new window. All of this will be recreated over and over again. So we'll get a whole pile of windows coming up on the screen that's really annoying. Now I'm highlighting that whole section and I'm pressing tab so that it's indented, so it's inside this click function here. And like I said, if they put click, it runs itself, so it goes into here, right? So that's going to work. The next thing we want is we want to do a function for this enter key down here. So up here, we're going to define another function. We're going to call it enter, a couple of brackets, colon, and in fact this one's going to be an event. And the event is the user clicking the enter key. And what we're going to do here is we're going to say run click. So click is our first window that's going to pop up. If they click, it runs itself again. If it doesn't, they don't do that. If they press enter, it runs to this function here, which then runs it again. So essentially we're making it run over and over again. Now the first thing we need to do is we need to make sure that it runs once. So by doing click, we're guaranteeing that it actually runs once to start with. Save my file, let's run it and test it. We say run module, and if we have a look here, here it is. Here's my thing. You have been hacked, virus detected, clean. So if I click it, another one comes up. Click it again. So now, every time I click it, another window comes up. In fact, if I hit the keys on the keyboard, I get lots of them coming up. So that's annoying, right? So that's a good start. Now I don't like the navy blue background, so I'm going to go to here. I'm going to actually hash out the navy blue background because I don't want that in there. I just want it to be grey. So just put a little hash in there so that code's still there. I've just turned it off. Hit save, run it again, run module. There we go, grey window, you have been hacked, virus detected. They click on clean and another window comes up. If I press any key on the keyboard, lots of them come up. Now the next bit you'll notice is they always start in the top left hand corner, and I don't want that. I want it so that they're random all over the screen, which is why I imported random at the top here. So I can make this whole thing happen in a random way. Right, so now what we want to do is make that pop-up window come in a random position on the screen. Okay, so we don't want it to come up always in the top left-hand corner and then fill down this way. We want it to go all over the screen. So I'm going to create two variables inside the click function, because if I do it outside the click function, it will be random the first time and then it won't be from then on. So it has to be inside the function. So I'll create a variable here and I'll call it random x for the x-axis. And in fact, I'll do another one underneath it and call it random y. So we've got the x and y axis. And we're going to say equals random, which gets the module. And then we want from that a random integer, so rand int. And then we want our random integer, and we could go between 100 and 1,000 maybe to start with. And in fact, that line, I want exactly the same line underneath. So I'm just going to highlight it, copy it, and paste it. So now we're getting a random integer between 100 and 1,000, and that's going to be inside the variable random x, which is our x and y axis. This one's going to get a random integer between 100 and 1,000. It's going to be inside our y axis there. Now, what we want to do is go down here to this section where we're setting up the box size, and we want to say, yeah, we do want a box size of 400 by 150, but we want it in a random location. And to do that, we have to add in a couple of strange symbols that you may not have seen before. We're going to do a plus, and then we're going to do two curly brackets, like we would if we were doing a list, an array, right? So we do two curly brackets there. We do another plus, another plus, and then two more curly brackets. So what you're doing is saying x-axis in this one, y-axis in this one. And to do that, we say dot format, and then we put in our brackets and we say we want random x and random y. So random x, comma, random y. So what we're actually saying is create this box here, 400 by 150. In here we want a random number, go and get random x, and in here we want a random number, go and get random Y, and put them into here every single time this window runs, so it's always going to be different every single time. 2 brackets in the end to make sure that's right. Everything else should be perfectly fine, so I'm just going to hit save, Command S. I'm going to run that and see if it starts coming up in random locations. Right, now I can't see it, so I'm assuming, yeah, there it is, it's there right in the middle of the screen. Now let's start pressing other keys, and you'll notice it starts coming up in random locations. So if the user presses any keys, it comes up in a random spot every time. But what you will notice though, which I've just noticed here, is there seems to be like a border on this side and a border at the top and maybe a border over this side. So to get out of that, what we could do is actually change that to maybe 1, and then maybe we'll make this to 1500, which is catering for a bigger, higher resolution screen, right? So now let's run that again. Run module. Right, where did it go? Oh, here it is down there. There we go. Right, so you've been hacked. Good. So now you'll notice that those you've been hacked things are coming in everywhere. Now you might want to put the first one in a very specific position, but for me this is perfectly fine. Now one thing I haven't shown you is how to get out of that, right? Now you could click the red dot on all of these and get out of that if you wanted, but if you're in Python, you just hit Command Q, that'll get you out of that, that'll kill the program, and you can go back to your coding section here. So that's it, that's the program we're going to do. Now there are a lot of extra little things you can do. You can put a code in to get rid of the 3 buttons on the top of the screen. You can put photos in so that instead of just a little window popping up, photos pop up. There are lots of different things you can do. For the purpose of this video, I just want to show you how to do that window. So the next part of the video is going to be how to pack this into a single file that you could then import or airdrop to someone or put onto someone else's computer or something like that, which would then have your annoying little program running. Okay, so now we want to make this into a single file self-executable that you can share with other people and annoy them on their computer, right? So the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to set this up for people who have never done any of this before. We're going to go to set up a couple of programs, and essentially the program we're setting up is called PyInstaller. So I'm going to go to my desktop first. I'm going to hit Go, and I'm going to go to Utilities down here. So I've gone Go, Utilities, and I've gone there. Now I'm going to go down, I'm going to find one here called Terminal, which is the terminal window, which is just another way to navigate your way around your computer, except it's not using GUIs and screens like that, it's using text, so it's a text-based information. So this is where we're going to start here in the terminal. I'm also going to go online. I'm just going to go here. I'm going to go to Google, and I'm going to look up something called Homebrew. Right, Homebrew for Mac. So it's called Homebrew Mac. And I go here, and I get this one here called Homebrew, the missing packages for Mac, right? So you click on that, and there is a whole line of code just here. At the end, there's a little clipboard. So if I click on the clipboard, that means I've copied that section of code. I go back to the terminal window, and I paste it in there. Command V will paste it, and then I hit enter. Now it'll ask me for a password. Now you need to do this password. Nothing will come up as you do it, right? So as I type my password, there's no indication that I've done it. Then I press enter, and if it worked, it goes through and gives you this little script. We'll install Homebrew, we'll create these new directories, so on and so forth. Do you want to continue? And I hit enter to continue, and it actually goes online and downloads this package called Homebrew, which is just helps you do a few little extra things in the background, right? And they say it's the missing code for Python, for the Mac. So I'm going to leave that downloading, and I'll come back to this video in just a minute once it's downloaded everything. Now it's actually downloading just before I finish. It's downloading Xcode. So if it's downloading a command line for Xcode, that could take 15 or 20 minutes or half an hour depending on the speed of your computer. You have to just leave it and let it download. Okay, now that took for me about an hour for that to download, so I've just left it going. It did ask me for a password one more time, but I put that in, and then it went through and it said installed Homebrew. Now I'm going to go into here, and I'm actually going to there's a couple of things you have to do. Now I'm going to zoom in here if I can show you this. No, Okay, down here it says run these commands in your terminal to add homebrew to your path on this line down here. Now, if you don't do this, you're going to have a lot of trouble. So you highlight this section here, this first one, and you go Command C, and then you go down here and you press Command V and hit enter, and that just goes. Then you do the next one. So there, Command C, Command V, enter, and then the last one here, Command C, Command V, enter. Now, what that does is that makes it so that you can find homebrew to do things if you need to do that, if you need to install applications, which we're going to. You can test that by going brew help, right? So I type in brew help and hit enter, and I should get some information here, which I did. I got a whole pile of information, which means that homebrew is now working. Now, what we want to do is actually install, the reason we've done this is to install a package called PyInstaller. So down here I write brew install PyInstaller. Okay, so that will install PyInstaller, and I'm going to hit enter, and that'll go through the process of installing the program called PyInstaller, which we're going to use to make this into a single file application and make it run. So that's the stage that we're up to right now. This will only take a minute or so. This won't take long at all. So I'll leave this going on the screen, and you'll see this installs PyInstaller. Now, once we've got that, we're going to use this terminal window to make a single file, executable file from our annoying.py. Now, this is going to be directly influenced by how your system is set up. If it works perfectly, then fantastic. If it doesn't, then you might have something else installed in there, or you might need to add extra parts to make sure that it works. It's one of those tricky things where you might have to go online and look at a few things up to make sure that everything works. So that's finished. It says ICS Milan, blah, blah, blah. Homebrew is finished. That's fantastic. Now, this is what we would do to run PyInstaller. Down here, I'm going to go ls first to list the directory. Now, I know that I saved my file onto the desktop, so I'm going to go cd space desktop and hit enter, and that'll change me to my desktop. Then I'm going to go ls again, which is going to be list the files in there. And if I list the files in there, you'll see I've got a few screen recordings, but there's my file, annoying.py. Now, what I can do, and like I said, there's lots of different variations for this. The most simple would be to write PyInstaller space annoying.py, right? So that's going to run PyInstaller, and it's going to make this program an executable file. So I'm just going to minimize this for a second. You'll notice on my desktop I've got a few screen recordings which I'm currently making. I've got my annoying Py, but nothing else. But if I run this, you'll see straight away some extra files come up on my screen. And you'll see one here, annoying spec, build, and dist, right? So it looks like it's done. It looks like it's working perfectly. Dist means distribution. So this is the one you would distribute to people if you wanted them to run it. You can go here, and there is an executable file right there. Now, this is where we need to go. If your computer is set up correctly, this will run perfectly. If your computer is missing sections, then we might need to install some more. We'll try and troubleshoot that in just a minute. Let's run this first. Okay, so on this computer it's come up saying no module named TKinter. So when I test it, it's not working there. So we'll go through and we'll problem solve that in just a second. Remember, I'm working on a Mac M3 with the latest operating system. So that's one little issue. So let's just highlight all of those, hit Command Delete, and let's try and do a few other things. So the first one we might do is we might go PyInstaller, and we're going to say we want a single file. So let's go one file, and we want it in a window. So let's go windowed, and now let's put annoying.py, and we're going to hit run on that, and it did the same thing, and it actually looks like it loaded a whole lot more things there. Let's have a look. If I go into my distribution, You'll see a single file executable here, and the size is substantially bigger. So if I run that, let's see if anything happens. No, it didn't. So we'll run the executable and just test that, because the executable will tell me in the module what the problem is. It says no module name TKinter. Right, so let's try a few other things on that and see if we can get that working. I've done a little bit of research and I've found out why it says the TKinter package is not working. So you need to go here and we write in brew install python-tk. And if you put in that line of code, brew install python-tk, you can see it here on the video. If you do that, it installs or reinstalls TKinter into Python, right? So it makes sure that it's installed in the local version of Python on the computer. Now I've just done it, so I'm not going to do it again, but that's the line of code, brew install python-tk. So I'm just going to delete that for a second. Then I'm going to go to my desktop here and I'm going to highlight all of this. I'm going to press Command Delete so that we're going with a clean start. And then we write py installer, and I'm going to put it in one file. And then I'm going to put windowed --windowed, and then I'm going to call it annoying.py. Right. So now I've brew installed python-tk. Now I'm going through and doing py install one file window annoying, and I hit enter, and it goes through, and I've written something wrong here. Oh, I haven't changed my directory. So change directory to desktop, enter. Sorry, now I can do ls, make sure my file's there, which it is. Py installer -- one file -- windowed annoying.py. Hit enter, and you'll see all my stuff's happening on my desktop over here. It's gone through, looks like it's done everything, looks like it worked. Go into my distribution. Here's a single file with a little icon that says it's 9.8 meg. It says annoying. If I double click it, and there's my first annoying window. So if I try and touch my keys, that's it. Now it's annoying. If I click on the clean button, clean, it just keeps appearing all over my screen at random positions. Now that single file is what you could share with people. You could share it by airdrop, or you could put it onto a computer somewhere. You could even change its name. You might say nice pick, or you might call it exam answers, something like that, and you leave it on someone's file, and if they double click it, it's going to come up on their screen saying, oh, you've got a virus, clean, and then it'll do this. Now this is harmless. It can't hurt the computer. It's not spreading an actual virus. It's just a bit of fun to annoy people, and they won't really know what to press to get out unless they press Command Q to quit out of it. And we have our single file, shareable, distributable file here. Now, there's one caveat to this. If you do PyInstaller on the Mac, then this file will work for a Mac. If you want to do it on a PC, then you need to do it. You need to do the PyInstaller section on a PC for it to work on PC machines. But this version I've done for you is just for Mac.